Hello, this is Mr. Buffington from Simplify Academy. Today we are looking at equivalent ratios, simplifying versus cross-multiplying. We will talk about simplifying, how to simplify ratios to check if they're equivalent. We'll also use cross-multiplying to check if they're equivalent, and then you can decide which method you like best and which method you want to use moving forward. Both methods are excellent. Both methods work outside of this lesson. These aren't shortcuts or quick tips or anything like that. These are skills that you will use outside of just this lesson. So both are important to know. Then, after you've finished looking at those two methods, I encourage you to practice using the worksheet and then show me what you know using the quiz. Let's get into today's lesson. First off, equivalent ratios. This is what it looks like. When you have an equivalent ratio, it'll be like 5 over 10 equals 1/2. You've seen this before. It's like filling out 5 out of 10 blocks, being this exact same as filling out 1 out of 2. The main thing here is that we're not changing the value of the fraction, we're just writing it in a more simple way. So simplifying is one way to check if ratios are equivalent. And watch this. If I simplify both fractions, you will see if they are equivalent. If they're both in simplest form, then they should be the same. So here's how we would do that. We would first simplify 4 over 6, and we do that by listing the factors of 4 and the factors of 6, finding the greatest common factor, and dividing both the top and bottom by the greatest common factor. You've done this before. This isn't a new thing here, right? But 4/6 simplified into lowest terms is 2/3. Then we'll simplify 12/18 using the exact same steps. List the factors of 12 and 18, find my greatest common factor, which is 6, divide both the top and bottom by 6 to get my fraction in lowest terms. There it is, 2/3 and 2/3. So you can see here that 4/6 and 12/18 are both equivalent. And the reason we know they're equivalent is because when we simplify, they're both equal to 2/3. Now, I know I went through those steps really fast because simplifying fractions or ratios is something that you've done quite a bit at this point. If you've been going through the course, you've done a whole lesson on it and then a whole practice lesson on it. You've simplified fractions and ratios, and we've been doing this for a long time. So basically, you can check if fractions or ratios are equivalent just by simplifying both of them. It's a great skill and it works every time. Go ahead and practice if 3/6 and 8/12 are equivalent. Try that one out by simplifying both. Go for it. All right, 3/6, I list my factors of 3 and my factors of 6. My greatest common factor is 3. So I'll divide both the top and bottom by 3 to know that 3/6 is equal to 1/2. Perfect. 8/12, I'm going to follow those same steps. First, I list the factors of 8. I list the factors of 12. Identify my greatest common factor, which is 4. And then I divide the numerator and denominator of the fraction by 4. This gives me a fraction of 2/3. So now in this one, I see that 3/6 simplifies to 1/2 and 8/12 simplifies to 2/3. That means they are not equivalent. All right, and that's it. That's how this works. If you want to use this method moving forward, it's a great method and it will always work, and you'll have the fractions or ratios in simplest form. So it's a great way to do it. It doesn't require any new skills, but there's also another way to do it. Cross-multiplying. It's another way to show whether they're equivalent, and it is something you'll use again. Trust me on that. So here is our fractions 4/6 and 12/18. We just did this one, right? The other way to check if they are equivalent is to use cross-multiplying. That's where you multiply the numbers that are across from each other. 8 times 4 or 18 times 4, I'm sorry, or 4 times 18 is 72, and 6 times 12 is 72. There you go. That's cross-multiplying to see if they're equivalent. If you get the same number when you multiply across 72 and 72, they are equivalent. Let's go ahead and double check our second set of fractions, 3/6 and 8/12. We've done this one and we know they are not equivalent, right? So let's go ahead and check it out. If we cross-multiply, we'll do 3 times 12 and 6 times 8. Notice we get different numbers. 3 times 12 is 36, and 6 times 8 is 48. All right, that's it. Okay, this will also help in the future with comparing fractions to see which one is greater. There's a lot of different things you can do with cross-multiplying. So for the duration of this lesson, I'm going to use cross-multiplying. It's less steps. And if this is a new skill for you, I definitely want you practicing this skill because you will see it again. At the end of the lesson, you can pick your favorite, whether you like using cross-multiplying or whether you like simplifying, and use that one to check if they're equivalent, right? You don't have to use both methods back and forth, but we're going to continue using cross-multiplying here. All right, here is a set of ratios, 1 to 2 and 2 to 4. I would personally write them out as fractions and double check. Go ahead, use cross-multiplying to see if they are equivalent. Well, I'll start out with 1 times 4, that gives me 4, and 2 times 2, which gives me 4. Yeah, if you get the same number on both sides, the fractions are equivalent, or in other words, they are equivalent ratios. Here's another one. Is 2/8 and 4/16 equivalent? You try this one out. Pause and practice. I want you to try it out. Try using cross-multiplying to see if they are equivalent. When we cross-multiply, we would multiply 8 times 4 and 16 times 2. 16 times 2 is 32. 8 times 4 is 32. They are equivalent. Boom! We've got a set of equivalent ratios right here. One more using cross-multiplying, 2/9 and 3/10. Go ahead and let me know, are they equivalent? Pause and practice. When we multiply 2 times 10 and 9 times 3, we see that we get different answers. 2 times 10 is 20. 9 times 3 is 27. Therefore, they are not equivalent. All right, and that's it for cross-multiplying. It's pretty quick. And it's extremely accurate. Now we're going to do a quick matching game. I want you to pause and practice this and match the equivalent ratios. There are 3 ratios on the left and 3 ratios on the right. I want you to match them up. Find the ones that are equivalent to each other. This should take a little bit of work, but I'm certain that you'll be able to do it. Go. Hey, welcome back. When I'm trying to find equivalent ratios, first I change my ratios all into fraction form. It's just easier to see them that way. Then after I do that, when I have this type of situation, I can use cross-multiplying or I can simplify. Because I know 2/9 or 2/9 could match up with any of those 3 fractions on the right, and I know it's in simplest form, and actually all the fractions on the left are in simplest form, I'm actually going to just simplify all the fractions on the right. So here we go. 8/10 is equal to 4/5, 3/12 is equal to 1/4, and 4/18 is equal to 2/9. For me, this was an easier method than using cross-multiplying, guess and check, to try and figure out which ones were equivalent. So 2/9 is equivalent to 4/18, 1/4 is equal to 3/12, and 4/5 is equal to 8/10. And that is it for this lesson. Couple things to remember. You can simplify ratios to compare them. It will always work. It's a skill you already know, so if you're comfortable with that, keep using it. Cross-multiplying is another way to compare ratios, and cross-multiplying will be used in your future. So it's a good skill to learn if you haven't used it before. Also, it's a little bit quicker when you're just comparing two fractions to see if they're equivalent. I hope that lesson was helpful for you. Have a wonderful day.